Let's take a moment and recognize the dynamic duo that is George Clooney and Julia Roberts. Between the two of them, they have 12 Academy Award nominations and 3 wins. They've been active in Hollywood for nearly 5 decades and have starred in such classics as Pretty Woman for Roberts and ER for Clooney. They are beloved individual actors and have incredible chemistry as a pair. In their latest film, they star as bitterly divorced parents who take a trip to Bali to stop their daughter from impulsively marrying a seaweed farmer. These industry titans have punched their ticket to paradise. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. Check, 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 check. This is Ronald. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Ticket to Paradise. Ticket to Paradise, directed by Ald Parker, written by Ald Parker and Daniel Pipski, starring George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Kaitlyn Dever, Billie Lourd, Maxime Bouttier, and Lucas Bravo. For a complete cast listing, check the link in our show notes. As usual, I'm not here alone. I'm here with...
It's me, Nichole.
Back to the mononym, I see. Back to the mononym.
Is that what it's called, a mononym?
Yeah.
Before you called it something else.
I fixed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's funny, I got no complaints from the listeners, but if you go back and find the Elvis episode, you can see where...
It?
No, I fixed it just now.
Just now.
Yeah, no.
Back in the episode and changed it, but I remember when you said it, I was like, is that what that means? And then you said something different this time.
No, mononym is...
Did you Google it?
No, I just remembered when I heard it, I was like, I meant mononym. Mononym is a one-name celebrity like Madonna, Kanye,
well,
or Ye.
Why bring him into this?
Yeah, why are we talking about this guy? All right, Ticket to Paradise. This was a movie wherein George Clooney and Julia Roberts go on a bit of a buddy quest to prevent their daughter from making the mistake that they feel they made years ago, as they are divorced and not happy, and their daughter is about to get married in what looks like a very impulsive decision. It's a romantic comedy. It is starring 2 titans. Nic Hill. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
No, thank you. No, thank you. If it had been in my house though, and I had some laundry in front of me, or have been doing some meal prep or some cleaning, yes, please.
Yeah.
But that is not a theater film.
So I want to 100% agree with you. This was probably one of the greatest streaming films I have ever seen in my life, by far. The fact that we are standing cold on a street corner talking about this and leaving the theater and not on the couch is wild to me, because this movie would have been #1 on Netflix for weeks.
Yes, agreed. Especially right now.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's the time where Hallmark is gearing up. Like, it's just the perfect time for a movie like this.
Yeah.
And to release it in theaters was just such a mistake.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to recognize that Hollywood is having a problem figuring out where they are and where they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, like, this is something where it's a good movie. And I mean, when I say it's a good movie, it's a good enough movie. But to that being said, like if they want us in theaters, I think they've like we've gotten to a place now where we know why we go to the theater.
Exactly.
Marvel tells us why we go to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other movies, I'm saying, but Marvel leads the way in saying, like, spectacle on big screen.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to go sit, I mean, it's a hassle to get to the theater now. We're, like, risking our lives, all of that. And
Are we?
well, I mean, with COVID.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not necessarily, but like we're saying.
I was thinking, like, do you mean, is somebody coming?
Like, is somebody after you, Ronald?
Is everything okay?
No, but like, it's like, it feels like to say, like, to ask me to get up to the theater, I think we really have to start saying, like, what are the merits of a movie that belongs in a theater, i.e., why do I need to be in here? And I'm to the point now where I'm like, if y'all want us to respect the theater window, which people want us to,
100%, and I do.
then like make a movie that's worthy of me being in the theater.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when music was, we were buying one song and stealing one song because they weren't making good albums anymore.
Well, I think a lot about Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
Which is like, that came out in movie theaters, and it should have come out in the movie theaters.
Correct.
It was like, here's a story that has like a clean arc and compelling characters in a beautiful setting that also isn't just, the setting is kind of a part of the story and not just backdrop. And then I came home and I watched To All the Boys I Loved Before.
Yeah.
And it was like, yes, tell me this story slowly and episodically at my house.
Yeah.
And that made sense. And I don't think that I think they thought, we have George Clooney, we have Julia Roberts, that is enough.
Yeah.
But it's not enough because the story is not George Clooney, Julia Roberts level storytelling.
No.
It's not even a good Hallmark movie, because I think they made so many mistakes. I'll run through 3 right now off the top of my head. 1, their back and forth when they were supposed to hate each other is not good.
You can tell they like each other. That's the thing.
Exactly. And you can tell that they're just reciting lines quickly to each other to indicate that they don't like each other by saying it faster and faster. But like a proposal with Sandra Bullock, Sandra's so good at that. Or Meg Ryan in every movie where she hates the guy at first. What's the one with Tom Hanks? You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail, yeah.
That like disdain. Of course, you have to talk about Harry, but that disdain is like, ooh, that's real disdain. They're like, oh my God, I love you. Isn't it so funny to say this mean thing to my friend?
Yeah.
That's not
The chemistry
good.
was palpable between the two of them, and that was a problem.
And when they were having fun, it's so fun to watch them have fun. But they don't know how to they don't have enough. They can't do the angry part to the loving part. That's not good. 2, I know I kept talking about this near the film. That best friend character was so unnecessary.
Entirely and useless.
Like like George Clooney, I would argue, is the main character. He's the one with interiority. He's the one who changes over time. He needs a friend that he did that like bar scene where he's like reciting the past. You need an adult person, not the drunk friend or whatever she's supposed to be. It's just like, you have no idea how to use the sassy best friend.
It seems like they could have used the groom's father for that role, honestly.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, he needs somebody else who is either, somebody who, he needs to be his age, and he needs to have some understanding of marriage and kids and regret and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say, even though there's so many more, but it's like the central problem is nobody's committed to like my best friend's wedding, where they were committed to breaking up this wedding. Yeah. There's not a real commitment to what they're supposed to be doing. They're just sort of like wandering about and haplessly. Yeah. Like, it's just like, so the central problem doesn't work. The characters aren't acting the way you need them to. And then the supporting cast, even her partner and the daughter, no one's doing what they're meant to do. They just feel like archetypes acting at each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, I am a person that, like, for this movie, I found myself, like, dropping my critical eye and slipping more into the fact that I just love seeing Julia Roberts and George Clooney together on screen. And for me, I think that's why the chief problem for me is wishing that this movie was streaming so that I could just enjoy that on Netflix and forget about it. But, like, it feels like because it is in a theater, I just almost feel like more compelled. And maybe this is a wrong way to critique movies. I don't think like it is, but I feel more compelled to sit down and say, well, you asked me to come here and you asked me to do this and you asked me to do this official presentation of all of this, like the money we spend to be here. You asked me to do all this. And then when I get here, you're right. You have a muddled plot. And I think one thing that gets me is I'm not sure that the movie knows where it stands on cynicism and romance. And I think the movie is still trying to sell me something that is, in some cases, it felt completely half-baked. And in other cases, it just felt like it didn't feel like there was a point in there where the daughter says something that was completely hypocritical based on the decision that she was making.
Was that in there?
It didn't make any sense at all. It's like she all of a sudden like has this lucid moment and I'm like, what you're doing, the movie is trying to make it, because you essentially found a rich person in Bali, because these people are rich. They are living large in Bali and they have a deal with Whole Foods to sell seaweed, meaning that they have a great supplier. They have like probably a contract for a very long time. They got money coming in. She fell into this relationship and all of a sudden says, I want to give up everything I have in America to be with this guy. So in some cases, it's like, it's not nearly as quaint and impulsive as it seems, because it's not like he was a board instructor, like working on boats or fixing boats or some like, and in a 90s movie, that's what he would have been. He would have been an impoverished, like handyman working in the streets somewhere. But instead, we have this guy and this relationship, which is impulsive and could end in a split. So I feel like they never like made any actual, it's like they don't interrogate that at all. I think they think their interrogation of it is looking at George Clooney and Julia Roberts' marriage, but I don't even feel like we got really close enough to understand why they entirely hated each other for the last 19 years, because they were only married 5. So why did they hate each other for the last 19 years? And then all of a sudden it's like one weekend and everything's good? Like, and I know it's a movie, but like, come on, just unpack it a little bit more.
Exactly. She knew him for 37 days.
Yeah.
Everybody's acting like the parents aren't trusting her ability to make decisions, and the parents are enforcing, like, trying to relive or being worried about the mistakes that they made. Their kid will make the same mistakes. She knew him for 37 days. What parent or friend or anyone would be like, oh my God, you knew him for 37 days? Marry him. Totally, do it.
In a foreign country.
Yeah. And you just got out of college and were about to become a lawyer. Also confused about that.
Had the job. Already had the job. I mean, she passed the bar.
But like, you don't go to college to become a lawyer. You go to law school to become a lawyer.
Oh, my assumption is in the beginning of the movie, she graduated from law school. That was the whole thing.
Because they kept calling it college and they called it that twice. And they said, you didn't do this for 4 years to then give it up. And it was like, why are you, law school isn't.
So I got to be honest with you, like, it was obvious that she was graduated from law school to graduation, but you're absolutely correct, because every other take of this was them acting like she had just graduated from regular college and just become a lawyer. So my assumption was y'all did something here. You massaged the script, and one of you guys were like, whatever. She's going to, whatever. She's going to law school. Like doesn't matter. It happened off screen.
It feels like they put the law school thing, they had to put that after the college thing, because they said it twice and they specified she'd been in college for 4 years, which is like, what are you talking about? But that's not beside the point. The point is, rom-coms are amazing. I love them. We grew up in the era of the greatest rom-coms.
We did.
Whew. And I love Hallmark movies, and I'm not going to lie about that. And
you don't need to. Everybody does.
You have to like lean into romance. You have to lean into love. You have to lean into the cheesiness of it all. But you still need the central, like the core. Hallmark is what it is because it is what is it called? A formula.
Yeah.
There is a formula and they are sticking to it and they are giving you the same thing over and over again. And I would argue most rom-coms are with just like, ooh, let's change the characters, let's change the setting. This one took all of the pieces of the formula that they could tell, but it didn't apply them well.
Yeah.
Or it took the outcome of the formula, but left the formula.
Yeah.
So then you just get a bunch of muddled pieces of what could have been a really fun, cohesive movie.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like, Meghan Markle has a podcast called Archetypes.
She does.
And it seems like they were committed to just kind of like falling into the archetypal roles in this one. But again, you're right.
Why are you talking about Meghan Markle?
Because she has a podcast called Archetypes.
Is she paying you to do this?
No. So I just gave Meghan Markle free podcast advertising.
Say Archetypes and say she has a podcast.
If you think Archetypes is not going into the show notes, for that SEO, then you got another thing coming. That's definitely going in the show notes
I
now.
thought you were gonna be like, and just like Meghan Markle said on her show, rom-coms. You're not gonna do that?
Now we need the numbers,
Okay.
so we'll just we'll just drop in the names of the Joe Rogan Experience.
The Daily. Just like on an episode of The Daily.
Right. What else is in the top 10? No. But I think the strongest thing for this movie for me is to say, like, most of our complaints are almost entirely negated, or I care a lot less if I was sitting at home on the couch.
I would
and care. I wasn't. I said, all I'm saying is I would care less. I'm not saying I would care. I'm not saying I wouldn't care.
Okay,
but I'm saying, because think about how many streaming movies you watch that have, like, a lot of problems, and you just end up being like,
not rom-coms. I want excellence. I have to have excellence in all my rom-coms.
But even that there's levels to rom-coms, and like the ones, like, you wouldn't put your Hallmark levels on the ones of like the 90s, would you?
I would put it right below.
Yeah, but like in terms of, I just mean in terms of like, the difference between like Crazy Rich Asians and like He Met Her on Christmas. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm saying, like, in terms of like the rubric by which you grade He Met Her on Christmas, you look at Crazy Rich Asians, when you sat down in that seat, you were like, okay, y'all better do it.
Yeah.
Not to mention Crazy Rich Asians is working from source material, which automatically gives it an advantage that a lot of other ones don't, but also gives it a disadvantage in that people are going to immediately make that comparison. With all of that in mind, what do you give this movie? What rating out of 5 stars?
That's a really tough one. I mean, I would probably give it a 2.9.
It's weird. Like, I feel like this was a performance-driven rom-com. And I was there for George Clooney and Julia Roberts the entire time. So it's very hard for me to say that I would never watch this again. I absolutely would. So, and I'm a sucker for anything set in a tropical setting. So I'll give it 3. So I'm like, I'm 0.01 above you, but I'm just saying, like, and I mean, our parents, like our mothers, like there's a lot of people that are going to like this movie that are just going to, I think so. Like, cause a lot of them are just going to watch it. And I mean, when it goes to streaming.
Yeah. And my mom would maybe watch it, but then she wouldn't, because here's what's interesting that they did. I love the interrogation of parenting. And kind of like, let's look back and like, oh, she did this at your house. She did this at my house. I think she looks like you. Well, I've always that is really interesting. And it's interesting to see how parents have to, I think about the ways my parents who are divorced have had to work together to send the different kids messages, and they don't want to be working together, but they have to. That is a really interesting conversation, actually, but they didn't really get into it or have it in that compelling of a way. And also just the cultural idea. It's very odd to set this, to have both the husband or fiance or whatever, where he's from a people that love family. He has a massive family. They're saying family is everything. But our message, the thing we need to take away is your parents don't know anything about you. You need to be independent. You need to do things for yourself. You need to do what makes you happy. Your parents need to just deal with it, or they're bad parents. That is an odd pairing of messages. Like, why not put her in a place where people believe in independence, and then she has independence, and then we're happy? I didn't like the pairing of those two. My mom would hate it, and so would my dad.
I think that, like, it's unfortunate that I feel like a rom-com, and I think this is a Hollywood thing, they don't give rom-coms enough opportunity to explore problems outside of obstacles that need to be overcome to bring the two main characters together. And so when they bring up something that's complex, like we just watched Bros, like not me and you, but I just watched Bros, and they bring up something that's actually complex and nuanced, they instead just turn it into an obstacle that is meant for the main characters to overcome. And I think in this movie, you just literally stated some things that are very interesting, because as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, I would love to hear more stories about divorced parents that are forced to join forces, because there is a buddy cop sense in that. There is a reluctant truce that happens when that has to occur. But like rom-coms, unfortunately, in 90 minutes, you are not going to have the type of like, I don't know, exposition, background, whatever, to like, you don't have the runway to actually unpack those the way they need to be unpacked. Now, maybe on the show, maybe if this had been Ticket to Paradise the whole first season, and we watched it for like 25 minutes, all on Netflix in a binge, then yeah, maybe, but you're right.
Asians, they start to.
And I think that's because of, have you read the book?
No.
Yeah, see, the book has an arc that unfolds under 3 books. You know what I mean? So it's like, and when you finally get to where the 3rd book is going, you're like, man, it took a while, but y'all got there. And the best part of, and the only reason why I say that is because, like, So the arcs that they have, even in the movie, is still a bastardized version of the actual arc. But they had one, so they already had the bones of a good arc there, and they kind of just had to polish it up for us who were sitting in seats. But you're absolutely right. And again, unpacks a complicated idea. But in the book, it's even more complex. Like about
Someone like you.
No,
not someone like you. The one with Sanaa Lathan and the white guy.
Something new.
Something new. They kind of get into a little bit.
They do, but I felt like, have you watched it recently?
No.
I feel like I want to watch that again right now, only because when it came out in the early aughts, and at the time there was this white woman that was like, I think you need to watch something new because you seem closed off to interracial dating. And after that, it kind of turned me off to watching that. And then I was
so good.
Well, I watch it. I'm not opposed to watching it. I just didn't like the recommendation of somebody trying to tell me that I need to watch this movie to change my perspectives on what it is, what interracial dating is. But that being said, and with that, also we have to bid farewell.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to bid farewell to Nichole HIll, who this will be her last episode in a while. I mean, she's moving away, so we won't be able to do this regularly anymore. However, if you go over to the Patreon channel, we have something we're cooking up. We haven't talked through the details yet, but we'll get there. Okay. But we have something we're cooking up. If you pay for the Patreon, you'll be able to see that in a more regular way. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you so much for being on the show. Seriously, thank you. And I wish you luck in all of your endeavors, of course. And, you're always welcome to be on Leaving the Theater anytime. There's an open seat for you all the time. That's about it. Do you have any last words for the listener? Do you have any...
Wow.
Do you have any farewell words for the listener for right now?
I just want to say thank you for having me. I did have to bully and fight my way onto this show.
That's a lie.
It's the greatest honor to be here, especially after the years of hinting and
lies.
Hinting and
lies.
hinting. It's
lies.
Unbelievable. You've been an amazing person to go to the movies with. Thank you.
And thank you.
Oh, and sorry to that listener that doesn't like it when we do all that talking in the beginning.
Yeah, they're going to hate this episode.
I always think of you. I'll never forget you.
And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Thomas Tyra of Bias Studios mixes the show. Thank you, Tom. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music from the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Ticket to Paradise or Nichole HIll, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Oh It's Big Ron. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Ron Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Ron Studios and on Twitter at Oh It's Big Ron Stew. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening.
Can we just really quickly, amazing rom-coms. Here I go. One Fine Day, Someone Like You, French Kiss, you can't find it anywhere. Obviously, then all of the classics. Shop Around the Corner, Jimmy Stewart, that's 1930s. What's your list?
No. All right. With that, you're going to Patreon. You can't just be starting new stuff on the regular. On Patreon, y'all can find our list of best rom-coms for everyone who paid for it.